Hello and welcome back to my channel, or just welcome if you're new. My name is Victoria and today I'm going to be talking about How to Hang a Witch by Adriana Mather. If you haven't heard of this book follows Sam Mather, who is a descendant of Cotton Mather, who is a historical figure who played an instrumental role in instituting the Salem witch trials. When her father goes into a coma due to an accident, Sam and her stepmother move back to the town of Salem, where she is of course ostracized due to her ancestry. Sam goes to high school with the descendants of the witches who were killed by her ancestor, and so obviously there's immediate tension because her great-great-great whatever grandfather killed a bunch of their great-great-great-great grandmothers and grandfathers. However, the longer Sam is in Salem, the more she comes to suspect that she's actually the center of a family curse that involves all of the old families of Salem, not just the descendants of the witches. With the help of a ghost and the descendants themselves, Sam works towards breaking the curse before more people are killed. So this book is a paranormal teen fantasy that adds a really interesting historical connection, and more than that, the author is actually also a descendant of the Mather family. So it was this personal element that first intrigued me to pick up this book, and I am so glad that I did. It was super fun, super lighthearted. Sam is the most relatable character I have ever read in my life. Like, she is so sarcastic, but yet super awkward, and like, you know how YA protagonists always describe themselves as awkward, but then they're not really? Like, she is so awkward. There are just so many moments in here when she does weird stuff, and it just creates such awkward situations where I'm like, yes, I've definitely been there. And so it was wonderful to actually see the characteristics she calls herself played out in her physical actions. She's also very distrustful of people, which I can also relate to, and there's this hilarious bit at the beginning where she's talking to this guy who she finds like quite attractive, and she's surprised that he's a nice guy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's me. Like, as soon as someone's hot, I'm like, you're immediately an asshole, which is like so judgmental, but like, it was just so good. Due to the narrator's sarcastic voice, even though this book has some like kind of dark elements, there's this comedic undertone to the whole thing, which makes it such an enjoyable read. I'm just gonna read you the first paragraph so you can just see like how good and sassy this writing is. So from the very first sentence, I was sucked right in, because listen to this.
Like most fast-talking, opinionated New Yorkers, I have an affinity for sarcasm. At 15, though, it's hard to convince anyone that sarcasm is a cultural thing and not a bad attitude.
It is so relatable.
Especially when your stepmother can't drive, because she's also from New York and spills your coffee with maniacal brake pounding.
It's just so good. And this whole sarcasm thing is so relatable, because the amount of times I say something sarcastic and someone just thinks I'm being a complete dick. So that is the end of my non-spoilery section, so if you haven't read this book yet and don't want to be spoiled, I would suggest that you leave and come back. Bye! So overall, I really enjoyed this book. I love the characters. Elijah, the ghost, is just That being said, there are kind of three aspects that I didn't really like. Not that they ruined the read, but I just found them a little bit First of all, I felt like Elijah's suicide was kind of trivialized in a way. Like, you find out that the reason he's a ghost, the reason he died at 17, I think, is how old he is, because he committed suicide. And that's just very much glossed over. And then Sam is kind of like, oh, that's so sad for you, like, you have so much pain. And then they move on and he's fine. Which, like, I get that it's a lighthearted book, but it just felt like his suicide was used more as, like, a quick plot backstory rather than, like, a very serious thing. The other sort of issue was that I found the scene jumps a little bit jarring at times. In a lot of them, they were lacking for physical description, so I found it hard to track with place and to kind of picture each scene. But that being said, it was a lighthearted, easy read, so it's not like it ruined it for me, and I could still keep track of what was going on. The third one is Elijah only wanting to talk to Sam in however many hundreds of years, 200 or 300 years. This is the one aspect of like teen romance that I don't really like, when there's this supernatural being and they've been living for centuries, but then suddenly they realize like they haven't really lived until they meet this like one teenage girl who's still basically a baby, and like they don't even know each other, and they're like, you are the one, and I'm like, really though? So like this ghost has been floating around for hundreds of years and then meets Sam and he's like, suddenly I have the urge to talk to humans again, and I'm like, really though? Like, yeah, she's funny and quirky and different, but like there's a lot of funny, quirky, different girls out there, so like how different are they really? The thing that I liked most about this book was the ending, how, surprise plot twist, the evil curse breaker, who is Elijah's ex-wife out to get him, is actually Sam's stepmother, Vivian. Like, what the actual fuck? But I loved that. And then what I loved even more was I thought it was gonna be this really horrible, like, oh, my stepmother, who was the only mother I've ever known, is actually evil and I'm gonna kill her, haha, oops, I'm fine. That was not done at all. I was expecting that. I was expecting her to just kill her stepmother, and it was gonna be all like, it doesn't matter that I loved you like a mother because now you're evil, bye! But instead, there's this beautiful, heartfelt moment where they experienced forgiveness and realized that like it was spurned by love or lack of love, and they share this beautiful moment of healing and forgiveness, and I thought that was just lovely. So it was a very surprising twist to what I thought was going to be a poorly done kind of quick murder of the crazy woman. Instead, it celebrated love and redemption for those people that have made mistakes for good reasons in a sense, or that are just very broken and just need love. So it was so beautiful, and I was pleasantly surprised and very touched. So that's one thing I liked most about this story, is that it was fun and lighthearted and quirky, but then it got to the end and was actually just so sweet. And like, yeah, maybe a little cheesy, but like, that's what this book was about. Like, it wasn't that deep, but it was just very enjoyable and fun and funny and sweet. So I loved it very much. Now it's time for Inquillery's Inquiries, the part of the show where Inquillery inquires. If Vivian is the only mother Sam has ever known, why doesn't she just call her mom? When a mysterious dark-haired kid just suddenly appears in the hallway of school out of nowhere and tells Sam to leave, why doesn't she respond or think anything weird is going on? Why isn't someone born in the 17th century slightly more sexist? How does a 17th century ghost who hasn't spoken to another human since the 17th century know how a TV works? Why isn't Sam more emotionally affected by the betrayal of the only mother she's ever known who tried to murder her and her friends? Why do the police assume a 16-year-old crazy girl is capable of making 4 people disappear in thin air? At the end, how did Elijah's sister suddenly manage to appear when she hadn't been able to previously? Why did Vivian die? So if Vivian is really Anna, then who is Vivian? Or the physical woman she turned herself into for the last 16 years? How much about all this paranormal stuff did Charlie really know about? Why didn't Elijah disappear with the rest of the ghosts? Why is Jackson actually so freaking nice? Jokes aside, it could be that I just didn't read the ending that clearly, but a lot of those questions stemmed from the ending, while being sweet, kind of not really making logical sense in my brain. But again, I did skim read this book for a fun, entertaining read, so if any of those questions were actually answered by the story, then I'm sorry, and that's my own fault. I really did enjoy this. It was fun, lighthearted, and quirky, with enough sarcasm to touch my soul. So I would highly recommend. I can't actually remember, I think I gave it 4 or 5 stars on Goodreads. So if you want something that's fun and lighthearted and easy to read, then I highly recommend this because it was very entertaining, and Sam is my bae. So that's all. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!